Mic check.
Yay. All right, guys, welcome to a special edition of the Kisiangani podcast. Today I have Prof. Fred Mbogo in the building. How are you, sir?
Can I correct you? I'm not professor yet, so I think you'll have to
Doctor?
Yeah, that's better.
How about Dr. Prof?
No, I mean, that's a little too much pressure.
How about Prof. Doctor?
You don't want your audience to start thinking that this is going to be absolutely intellectual library stuff.
We're feeling like so academic dwarfs.
So difficult. No, we're not going to find why Pythagoras jumped over a sheep. I don't know.
You guys can't wait to find out why, man. We also have Kiev in the building. Bruno is over here.
Yeah.
So it's been a minute since you came to this podcast. What happened? Why did you come and disappear?
Well, life. It happens.
Yeah. Were you writing your thesis?
No. I finished my thesis in 2012.
Oh, sorry, I was
That's
joking.
Like
it was a joke.
10 plus so many years on.
What was your thesis on?
Actually, it was about comedy.
For real?
Yeah.
But not Kenyan, though?
Kenyan, actually. I focused on something called Vioja Mahakamani.
Oh.
And I was interested in something. Now you guys want intellectual stuff. I was interested in pedagogy. Pedagogy.
Okay.
In Vioja Mahakamani.
All right.
And why it wants us to be serious about the law, courts, and for us to understand the court by demystifying the court, by making us feel like, the court can be our friend, and so on and so forth. Anyway, it was a long thing.
What is the meaning of the word pedagogy?
It's ways of teaching, methods of advancing knowledge to people or with people. etc. Yeah. So don't
it has something to do with feet.
Pedagogy. Why should we say that comedy can have feet? No. It was about the seriousness of a comical thing. This Vioja. It's a comical thing, we laugh. But underlying it is the idea that it encourages people like
Bruno.
Like Bruno. To do what? To go to court.
Do you think it had that effect?
It necessarily doesn't have that effect, but it makes you see what the court is there for.
But do you think the founders of the program had that in mind when they came up with the idea for that program?
Yes, they're always talking about, we're trying to educate people about usiweke mafuta kwa nyumba. Unajua mafuta? Fuel.
Yeah.
Oil. etc. They're always telling people usikojoe barabara ovyo.
Usikule fia.
We have an episode with Babazi, if you remember a guy called Babazi, who ametokea town and he's being conned by watu wa patapotea. You see, it's telling people that if you come to town, you need to be careful. It's actually talking about how can we live in the urban space peacefully with each other, And so I had this tendency to think that what has come down to Kenyan comedy these days, that thing about accents, I had a tendency to think that they were making the point those days with these kinds of comedy. Even Mzee Domo, some comedy made in the 1960s. So they were making a point with these comedies that people are coming from wherever they're coming from, Mashambani, wherever that place might be. They're coming into the urban space and they're likely to meet people who are not from their village. So how do they live peacefully in some kind of coexistence? And then within the laws of the urban space. You don't do the things you were doing Mashambani in the urban space.
Like open defecation.
Yeah, okay.
Free open defecation.
See the way Bruno is putting it at free.
Open free. There must be a word free somewhere.
No, it's a open free. Okay, how do they word it?
Area.
Yes. They actually have signs.
And then zone.
Oh yeah.
In Luyaland, they've written Hunyetianga Mucho.
Much the same way you see this is a corruption-free zone.
Yeah.
So they say this is an open defecation-free zone.
Yeah. You have to put the mic like this.
All right.
Down here. You
even me, I guess. Yeah.
But I feel like that Vioja Mahakamani, the way they had put it together, it was like they feel like the population is dumb. Like, some of those things they used to do. Take it, can you kale kadu? like they're talking to the population nikani wajinga you guys.
Then the Ojwang thing.
And then the knock-on effect is
Remember
the
Ojwang?
population. Yeah.
It used to look funny.
So
Like nowadays you look at
Ojwang.
Sibur Maganga.
Sibur Maganga.
Simba wa
That was
Matupeni.
Vitimbi.
It's similar.
No, but it's
But
the
it's
same.
it's
the same brand of
I
actors.
know. I'm just
Even
making
same
that
actors.
clarity. So I agree. But come on, you guys. We're talking
Resistance.
1970s, 1980s.
No, kwani those guys are not
late
intelligent.
60s. No, it's not. They're not intelligent. Remember where
I think even it evolves.
it evolves.
It's evolution.
Excuse me. Let me explain something small. These programs were not just coming. We were coming out of. We got independence in 1963. TV was brought to Kenya, if you say 1950s. If you think about film in Kenya, the way they started films in Kenya, there's a person called Simiyu Baraza, by the way. He's done a whole.
Yeah, shout out to the book. Kusus, you guys.
Yeah.
Kunya in the house.
By the way, he's my friend, and he made this documentary,
It must be very old.
which is you're
Add
fearing
water. Sorry, I thought
No,
you was
it's
going
okay.
to add water.
No, I'm okay.
Okay, sorry, huh?
Yeah. So this guy has made this film about. It's a documentary on the history of film in Kenya, and he says the way film came to Kenya was by Wazungus, obviously. They came and they started making films of Africans. Now introducing films to Africans by showing characters killing rats, trying to practice hygiene, making vitambas for house. Mbona una vitambaa kwa kiti? Showing people, basic stuff. But they were ridiculous things. How to kill rats so that you live without rats.
Okay.
I mean, it's to suggest that Africans accommodated the idea of living with rats. So the way Mzungu started that, I mean, Mzungu was in charge of these things. I mean, up to the time we're talking about 1963, Africanization is beginning, but not enough. Listen, many people were being trained in Germany, Britain, etc. And the ideas that they were imbibing in those Germans and whatever, it was still like you're coming from an inferior country, it's not developed enough. So the storylines, like you were saying, you're very correct. They were beginning to evolve. People were beginning to own their own story. So Vioja and all these other comedies are caught up somewhere there. But if you watch Vioja of these days, I'm thinking it respects its audience.
Does it?
Yeah, it's a bit more sophisticated.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's not so base.
Yeah.
Alafu, even in the West, ukiangalia the brand of comedy that was showing at that time, here kina Jeffersons, it was also very. It was also, you could say, it's also a bit simplistic.
Yeah. But
compared to what we have now.
Yeah. But what is...
I beg to differ. When you look at the movie industry, Jomo Kenyatta started a movie called what?
He started a movie.
Yeah, he's in a movie. Jomo Kenyatta. When you look at that movie, it didn't look very shallow.
Okay, he starred in a movie which was made in England.
Yes, but it spoke about also African. It had some African theme in it.
Yes, whatever.
But it didn't have people killing rats.
But it wasn't meant.
So it's a topic. It's a topic for the day. Like comedy. Let me say, for example, not many tribes have that comic kind of satire that people could call at, like the Luos, the Luyas. You see. Just
I tell you what I think. Do you think right now?
Yeah.
Especially these mainstream TV stations, do you think they've evolved with the times? I feel like they're still the themes they have are still pretty
90s.
Population. They feel like the population is slow and dumb.
Like they appeal to the large uneducated masses.
Okay, large uneducated masses. Key point, large. You want to sell to masses. This is why it's called mass communication.
Basing it on what? Comparison.
Mass communication.
You're comparing that to what? You're like saying our
say to Nat Geo, where they do shows about.
You see, they have rich
history channel.
They have rich history.
Things that after you watch, you're like, okay. But here, if you look at even the at 7:30, they start playing soap operas.
Yeah.
And then they have a very weird
Nigeria
local
movies.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, if you want critical mass, that's
keep it simple.
What do you think will happen if you present the masses with more
higher
yes.
intellectual whatever? They might disappear. This is why I was afraid of starting to talk about pedagogy. Might lose your audience. I know your audience is a very clever audience.
Really? That's an assumption. But you're not.
Of course, I'm not that serious. But I'm saying there's a way. Unaona kama sahi tunaongea Kiingereza.
Yeah.
If someone switches on TV now, I mean YouTube, and sees us talking, and they feel like we are talking English, they switch off. It's the way some people, Bruno, I don't know, people used to not love maths. So maths shows up. The guy starts writing 1 plus 7 equals, some guys switch off.
Maths is a gift.
Yeah.
But maybe there were some good math teachers who used to
they started it like it's a story. And now a guy who's interested in story pays attention.
Apples and mangoes.
So says, okay. So I can do. So the math is demystified. Because it's coming to you in an unthreatening fashion. That's a style of teaching. Pedagogy.
Is it a famous style of teaching?
Okay. I don't know if I can say if it's famous.
Is it lecturers encouraged to use that
relatable?
Individual, people have charisma. Like you can have 6 teachers, but maybe only one of them has charisma. I mean, teaching is also about standing before people and talking to them. And sometimes students want to go with a teacher who has charisma. Make my day, You don't want a teacher. By the way, they are brilliant teachers, but they are talking to themselves.
That means they're not brilliant.
Have you ever seen
they are. Well, they have content.
They are knowledgeable, but they're not teaching. Teaching is a gift also. Yeah.
Have you seen on TikTok these teachers who... Sujui. Now it is time for weak subject science.
Then they dance.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think now that's taking it too far.
But it's going viral on TikTok.
But do you think you can teach?
This guy should start doing that in his classes. Check it, it's time for philosophy. Check it.
Okay.
Then he starts twerking.
So it's not. I don't know. When we are talking charisma, it's also about listenability. You can go overboard. You can be a caricature, like throw people off. It's like comedy. See the comedians who shout a lot. Mtu mwingine anasema, bana, si punguze ule jamaa. Guys controlling the machines reduce the mic volumes and stuff. So it could be like that. Yeah.
So if you're doing your thesis now, what would you study if you were doing it right now?
If I were doing it right now, come on.
No, it's comedy.
Yeah.
But would you study the modern?
Or if you have given another chance to do a second PhD?
I'd be interested in. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's a complex situation, but I'd be interested in where comedians getting their stories from. Like, see, we go and watch stand-up comedians. I'd be interested in where are they fetching their stories from. And
have you been like writing papers since you did your?
Well, yeah, I have. I have. I have. I was interested in a movie called Wakamba Forever. You remember?
Yes. A local production.
I thought that was, in terms of Kenyan films, I rank it highest.
I haven't watched it, but I've watched
It's a 7 minutes. We can watch it now. Anyway, it's a 7 minute situation.
Oh, it's only 7 minutes?
Yeah. You watch it and you're gone.
But they're putting the cameras in different scenarios, right?
No. They're just playing with a story about the first Kamba grouping to meet Mzungu, representative of the Queen. And the interaction that was rather comical because it's Mzungu and this guy is wondering, how comes you're not like us, Kala, and so on. That first interaction, it's very interesting. And they're meeting a guy who's a chief. But now the story is so beautiful because the guy who wrote it actually decided to make the chief turn the Mzungu into a black cat. So that's just the end of the story.
So this is 7 minutes.
Yeah, it's all happening in 7 minutes. That's why I'm saying this is a great movie. So I'd be interested.
It's called what? So
Wakamba Forever.
Wakamba Forever.
Yeah. You'll see.
I'll go check it out. It's
the black cat a reference to Black Panther?
Now, come on. That's a nice. Now, that's the stuff of comedy. See now, if comedians were getting their comedy material from this guy.
But is it?
Just one instance.
Why? Maybe there's a reason they turn it into a black cat.
Yeah. I mean, it could be a Kamba reason. It's a maybe intra-Kamba communication.
It could be also how, you know, the way they say black cats are symbolism of wickedness.
Yeah.
So the white guy is a wicked freaking black cat.
Yeah.
Not a Wakanda guy.
There's once I got a cat and took it home, and my dad just threw it away.
Because it was black.
Okay, it was great. But he actually truly believed that cats are bringing bad luck.
I like your dad. He doesn't like any gray area.
So there's a house up in Mada at the entrance there, where the house burnt. And they had a cat.
Okay.
And people were
So
blaming
it was
it
a
on
reference.
the cat.
So he's like, no, even there's a house there which burnt. So I remember I was so mad, I actually went to confront him in the bedroom.
Yeah.
So you're sleeping like this facing the wall. So me, I'm over there. They don't check. Where's my cat? Where's my cat?
Did you throw out his blanket?
Nobody, you're not believable, my friend.
No, for real.
You don't
Say
do
totally
that to your
honest.
dad.
You never told him.
I wanted to go and I tell you what I wanted
You
to do.
said you never told
Because I was
him.
in driving school. I wanted to go and hide his car until he produces my cat. Check me hiding his car. Check.
When you're in class
You were in
5.
driving school. That's
When you're in class
you
5.
were over 18.
Yeah.
He was in class 5.
It was right after high
That's
school.
personal.
Oh.
Like over 18 and you loved a cat. A man who loves a cat.
Me, I love cats.
Okay, it's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
So, so you're saying you did do you have to keep doing papers to maintain your?
Yeah. It's an academic thing. You have to do it.
Is there like a number per year?
No, there's no number. But
Publishing
there's what's this thing called? You know, I mean, it's a personal thing. Like if you're a comedian, let's make it so.
Oh, okay.
You want to keep researching your own stuff.
Oh.
Isn't it? Is there a limit to how much research you can do?
No.
There's none. In fact, sometimes I know of a person who writes one paper in 5 years, but when he writes that one academic paper, it becomes a reference point.
Oh, everyone is on it, huh?
Yeah,
It's taking a
everybody.
lot of time
Now you can write 15 papers in those 5 years, but no one is quoting you. No one's interested in what you're saying. Okay, they're nice papers, and maybe once in a while people are saying what they're saying. But somehow it's, I don't know. Yeah. So
but what makes that guy's paper?
Yeah.
Dense.
Yeah.
Dense. It's
What do you mean by dense?
Like
It is taking a lot of time.
When it's a big, thick thing.
it
Not
can't
necessarily.
be
not in terms of the volume, but
Just
the writing is
something
so
that has never
high
been
quality and citable.
Yeah.
And something
Like
that probably
good
has never
quality,
been referenced
good
before.
quality.
Because I think what makes it neat because it takes a lot of time to research
They're talking about content.
and formulate.
Yeah.
So, by the way, I was interested in, if you want to know about another research thing I did, I was interested in that group called Too Early for Birds.
Oh.
Too Early for Birds.
Have you been to any of their plays?
Yes, many.
Which one?
Almost all of them.
Tomboy?
Yeah, now you're talking about something I wrote.
Okay.
I think they did a Tomboy in 2019, around there, just before COVID.
They've made a lot of money from the Tomboy one. What is it about?
It's about Tomboy.
It's like a biography.
It is, but then with a modern twist,
Okay.
like showing the tragedy. Of
Give us spoilers.
Showing. Okay, let me just speak in tongues, if you like. I mean, in large whatevers. It's to say, Tomboya is a victim of what? It's a victim of system. The system. Like at some point he was part of the system. He believed he was part of the system, and then the system started to kick him out. Of course, you may call the system an ethnic thing, the way it turned out during Kenyatta's time with the Mount Kenya Mafia, etc., etc. So it's actually talking about that. But it has implications on the way we live now. For example, one of the songs I think they were singing there, that's 2019, 2018, whatever they did it. I think they tended to chokoza that Ezekiel Mutua guy. You remember he banned something called Wamlambes Wamnyonyes.
Yeah.
So this guy is actually, they didn't do the whole song, but they did Wamlambes, and the audience was shouting back,
All right.
Wamnyonyes. It was a fun thing to the arts. Yeah. So that sort of style, I was very curious. Yeah.
But it's so popular. Do you think guys are hungry to hear our historical stories?
Now, that's a challenge these guys were showing me. Like, you might think that Tom Mboya should be someone forgotten. In fact, someone has written a nice book, Tom Mboya, the Forgotten Kenyan, whatever. Anyway, so these guys make history relatable. That's what I love.
Pedagogy.
Yeah, pedagogy. Yes, because again, they have an argument there, because they were getting lots of their material from a guy called Owa. Have you seen Owa.com?
Yes.
If you read his stuff, makes history nice.
Do they still write Owa?
I think you should check.
They still publish?
I think it's still online.
To be honest, I used to read my dad's Owa copies, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
Question. Is Tom Mboya's story biased to one guy? Because I've heard a lot of guys also say Tom Mboya was very aggressive. He was very ambitious. Not like being ambitious, not wrong.
Yeah.
It's not something that somebody could be killed.
Yeah.
So are they putting both sides? When you're talking about somebody, you have to put both sides.
Balanced.
You must balance it.
Yeah, but you see, the way Nani is talking, Bruno is talking, it's all nice. But now when you're bringing it on stage, you want to bring the most dramatic elements of it.
Because the guy can just kill you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course, they talk about.
But you have no justification for killing.
That's what I'm saying. They should look at both sides.
Yeah.
Tom Mboya's character, not only one side.
What these guys achieved was just to make Tom Mboya relatable, so that if you go there and you don't love your history, you'll still love the idea of Tom Mboya. And that's what I love about that. So yeah.
But maybe it was also the times, because it was during this Mandamano.
Oh yeah. Of course, take advantage of that. But again, it's the way life is evolving. I like your word, evolve. It's the way life is evolving. I mean, if I'm going to tell you a story, why should I tell you a story where you will suffer to get a relatable thing from it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I hope your audience can get a relatable thing from what we're talking about.
No, I think there are, man. Yeah. This audience is a very smart.
Probably they're wondering why do you have Rasta? Sorry to deviate as a prof.
But this thing we discussed in the last
okay, so they checked the other podcast.
Oh yeah.
You remember?
Go and watch it.
No problem. For the audience, you've already spoken about it.
I mean, I can say anything. I can say it's religious. I can say I wanted to look sexy. I can say I wanted to. By the way, I don't know, ebe even my own students inspired me to have dreadlocks. I don't know, I mean...
you guys, we were discussing this off air, Juicy, and we thought we'd bring that convo back here about AI,
yeah.
Is it affecting your job?
Yes.
Because I can give you a very nice paper right now on pedagogy.
Yeah.
You can do it but I just need 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So do you think it's changing the scope of...
In fact, it's bringing in interesting questions. Because, I mean, I think I went to class the other day and I was alone in class. I mean, that's hall we call a class. I sat there like 10 minutes to time. I think my watch was like 10 minutes ahead. So I arrived in class thinking it's already 3. So where are the guys? And along that time I started thinking, in that 10 minutes, wondering where the students were, I started thinking to myself, maybe these guys are asking themselves, why should I go to class if AI has everything? You follow? So I started being very despondent. In that 10 minutes, if I was in a dream, I'd be thinking of an AI monster, yeah.
Taking away your job.
Yeah, taking away my job. I mean, it's scary like that. But, so anyway, to go into the effects of it, right now people in something like film producers, they're beginning to think AI might help them overcome many problems, such as script writing. If you can get a script out of the AI machinery, why would you need a script writer?
Script writers, yeah.
Okay. If you can get a character, if you can build voices, if you can use voices by the way, like your voice, we just trap it and use it in future with another guy. You follow? AI is now doing those things. There are many moral impediments in that. This is why there was a strike in Hollywood some years ago.
Yeah.
You remember?
You can even take
a couple of years ago.
You see the way we are speaking here.
A couple of years ago.
Look, so if you have some sort of recording software in the house, like what do they call them? Is one called
Fruity Loop.
Alex.
Remember Fruity Loop?
There's one in Amazon. Okay, let's use Siri for example.
Yeah.
So it has spent enough time with you. It knows your personality and your stories and nini.
Yeah.
So you upload that consciousness in some sort of robot, which probably looks like you.
Yeah.
So you can even continue living your life, you guys. It's only that now your consciousness is in a robot.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll be uploading your consciousness in that situation.
Consciousness.
Okay.
Consciousness is something
what am I
totally
talking
different.
about?
Yeah, consciousness.
I'm talking about your personality, your mannerisms.
Some total of your experiences and your deeds. I don't think that equates to your consciousness.
But you have to feed it. What I was talking about.
But are you understanding what I'm saying, Kablo,
Yes.
to move on from your thought?
Yes.
Like all your mannerisms, the way you vibe, the way you talk to your wife, your kids, nini, can be uploaded into a machine, and then this machine can more or less continue your life, you guys.
But I don't know if you have a point.
Yeah.
There's something called conscience. How do you
conscience?
Conscience, yes. You know,
Not the music guy.
there will be, and also there are things called values.
But see, they have values that are very easily uploaded.
But what are values? Values are like,
Human nature,
you
that's
meet
what-
Bruno,
Character.
you are in a conundrum, for example. You have met Bruno and he's just come around, and you have 2 pieces of meat in your plate. Now, if your values are to do with sharing, you might allow Bruno to take your 2 meats. If your values are on, it's me and me, I mean, I bought this meat and so on, then you tell Bruno, boss, you find your own meat. Now, that one you can't put in a machine nicely to decide for you. You follow?
There are some things like intuition,
Choice.
moods.
What God gave us choice. You can't feed on that machine.
There are some things you can never teach them.
You can't. It's
Even sudden
There's
laughter.
a famous, I think Descartes. There's a
René
difference
Descartes.
between computation
yes.
and something else. Like a machine can beat you in a game of chess.
Yes.
Yes, very easily because you can teach it.
Yes.
But will it celebrate?
Okay.
Will it?
The celebration.
You can train it, celebrate.
No,
To-
but
to-
will
to
it be
an-
happy?
with a-
See, those
There's that feeling
have
you
you ever
get.
scored a goal while playing FIFA?
Those are just.
Yeah, but
So you can program the celebration.
No.
yeah, but you can. But there will be spontaneous things that happen in a game.
Yes.
For example, have you seen someone score and the way they celebrate is with arrogance?
Yes.
The machine can't get that because that moment of deciding I'm going to celebrate it with arrogance. Okay, like the player I like best.
How can you teach a machine
called
to show happiness? Yeah, to show happiness by putting a mean face and tearing it,
Because
tearing its shirt.
Authentic happiness. Authentic.
tearing his shirt and showing why always me, my Balotelli friends.
So to take you guys back, Kisiangani. So to take you guys back, and the thing about you asked him about Internet of Things that will make guys fear. For example, remember when in Kenya we used to have Ogopa DJs and like 2-3 guys used to do music. Then what came? Fruity Loop. So everybody opened their own designated studios in their houses, started doing their own music because they could create beats by themselves. You see, so it decentralized all these places where guys could go and do their music. Same thing with these Hollywood guys. Now that this AI is around, I can say AI can also create faces, features. As more we go, guys will just put a script and it will come out with their own movies.
They already made them.
Yeah.
They've already made them. Yeah.
So at the same time, Hollywood won't have that monopoly of creating your own movies. Like you have to go to Hollywood or to
we
this
can
place.
create our own
You can do it. You can create your own story in your own house, even in your estate.
Have you seen that Google new, I don't know what it's called, Vero 3 or something of the sort, where they've created a way that you can create very realistic looking videos.
With
I
time,
think
it will
so.
be
I
super
think so.
realistic.
It came out last week.
I think I've seen it. Like you know, like on X, I saw recently somebody saying this. They show a short clip and say these are not real people. This is just a fake interview, like for example,
Even in YouTube
or
nowadays.
podcast of non-existent people
Yeah,
talking about issues and stuff.
Check even YouTube. When a guy is narrating, he puts those pictorial videos. They look so real nowadays, but like, oh, compare the AI too.
Yeah.
So imagine 5 years from now, you won't even differentiate.
But how's the experience with the students? How do you teach students who have access to?
That's the problem. Is if you give them an assignment to go and do something. These days, I'm not sure whether
they do it or
yeah. So you get a lot of assignments back. Yes, thank you very much. They finish in record time. Sometimes before deadline.
And you have students who are previously not very smart, using very large vocabulary.
That's what I'm going towards. You know, people are using the word like pedagogy, and you know this guy in class. Where did he meet this word? You know,
but you're supposed to be happy. One of the students is improving.
But unaenda kumuuliza too after you gotten his assignment. So, what's your pedagogy like? Do you have it in the bag? Alafu anaingia kwa bag kutolea pedagogy. So how did you use it in your assignment? If you're getting it from your bag.
But now what will happen now, Manzi?
Yeah.
Campuses.
Yeah. Okay.
Colleges.
Of course, now there are people with strategies. You know the first strategies already flopped. And the strategies was to put your work in a machine to detect whether you have used AI. Now AI has even bettered itself, so you can put it there and that AI will say, actually it's not AI. Us who've not done. I mean, AI can cheat you that AI hasn't done. Yeah.
Just humanize it, then it looks like somebody has just done.
Okay, whatever. And of course you can also use AI and then change it a little. But there's a famous case. Is this Harvard or somewhere? MIT, I think, about a guy who's suing the university for claiming that he used AI. Now it can't be verified whether he's talking the truth or the university is talking the truth. Anyway.
Is it the principal or the chancellor of vice chancellor? Someone was running case. But she was accused of plagiarism.
That's plagiarism.
That's Harvard. That black lady.
Yeah, although by the way, now
his case is different.
No, I'm saying I'm citing a different case.
But that's a topic I don't want to go into because I think it's just, I don't know. It's just
Is it illegal using AI when you're doing your thesis?
Yes, it's illegal.
Yeah, definitely.
In our universities,
you're supposed to do the research yourself.
Not in our university, anywhere in the world right now. It is.
When you Google, you see using AI. So Google has its own AI.
Do you know? I mean, I have colleagues who now are they've come to the party and have realized that AI is here. So what do? They tell their students to use AI to create things, for example. Of course, AI makes things easier. Okay. Things, and now the problem is that some of the things that these guys are telling students to create AI for, some of those guys are so clever. They already know that this student won't hack it. For example, I have a friend who teaches gaming. And he tells his students, mbona usicreate game around with a context of your own village, the village where you come from, okay? Even if you don't come from a village, say you come from Utawala or somewhere, go back to your father's village in Kitui, and then create conditions there, and then create a game around that village. So students have been trying to use AI that way. In that specific class, they tried, and they fell short. Yeah. I mean, their work was just poor. I mean, it was impossible. It's because AI is you feed it and then it feeds you back. So it hasn't been fed by information from villages. Like Luandeti, for example.
The Luandeti guy
no, but I mean, as long as people go with phones to Luandeti, AI might know Luandeti. But will it know the accents and so on of Luandeti and so on?
What are you guys whispering about?
This can.
What's that?
The monster.
Don't worry.
By the way, we do not encourage guys to drink this drink. This is just me drinking it, but msikunyo it. Wait, how is it lecturing these Gen Z guys? There's a lot of mystery around Gen Zs.
You know what? I'm like a coach. I must defend my players. So to some extent, I'm just thinking that yes, there's a generational difference. Yes, there is. But I don't know. In the end, really, what do you want? You're producing human beings. So, to some extent, yeah, they still have humanness. They're not lost. They're like us. It's just, they have more interesting opportunities to cut corners. All of us cut corners when we were young, isn't it? We're thinking the old guys are geezers or tupati nafasi.
Like me, I think my dad is the most backward guy on earth.
Okay, I mean, people were using typewriters. You remember? And so on. And now they started seeing that you can save your work on diskette. We used to have a famous
Floppy disk.
we used to have a famous story about a guy who was teaching us undergrad, and we all thought he was such a brilliant guy, so brilliant, but he didn't have a PhD. Those days we didn't even know what a PhD is, but anyway, we were undergrads. So there was a famous story made by a cleverer guy than us. He said that this guy, let's call him X, was so clever that he wrote his PhD thesis, but he wrote it with what? The key machine.
A typewriter.
Yeah. Alafu akaeka kwa briefcase. Akatembea akaingia, what's this thing called? Eldoret Express. Akuja alete professor wake huku Nairobi University. There's a professor called Indangasi.
Yeah.
So anyway, akakuja amlete. So kukaa kwa Eldoret Express yameeka pale kwa carriers, the way you sit in a bus, yeah. Kalala vizuri peacefully, akafika Nairobi, it's night bus. Akafika Nairobi, akaenda kwa carrier akapata ile thesis haiko. Kwa nini? Si imeibiwa. Si yani mtu aliona briefcase mzuri akaenda. Yeah. So now, that was a way of explaining why he didn't have a PhD.
Oh!
Yeah. So, as in he was so bright. No, I'm just trying to tell you.
Manu looks disappointed.
So, jokes that you PhD.
Goja. Now the interesting thing for us was to ask, mbona haku save kwa diskette? Of course, the truth was there were no diskettes. You remember diskettes, by the way. Diskettes. Floppy discs.
Floppy discs.
Yeah.
You know my dad.
If you talk about some people about floppy disks, our Jews,
true.
Yeah. So
kulikuwa na 8-inch, 5-inch na 3-inch.
Yeah.
You know my dad had I don't know where he had gone the day he was supposed to go present his. Is it your paper?
Are
you supposed to present it?
Defend. It's called a defense.
Yeah. Yes, he was supposed to go there but he needed the typed document.
Like a hard copy.
To talk about it. Yeah.
So I think he had gone hanyang or something. So my mother was really there typing it for him. So when he showed up, he had given up and thought he's too late.
Yeah.
Only for her to present it, you guys, fully typed.
You guys, shout out to your mother.
Okay, shout out!
They no longer make such wives.
At the factory.
Yeah, but you see what will have happened now? You'll just have told AI to fix it for you.
AI wife.
AI hata inge improve. Ingeweka input yake.
Now the trouble is that Binanosi professor saying, have we put this thing through the machine? Can you see if it's...
But I will say, nope, I have never seen this paper before.
Have you heard stories about plagiarism, by the way, about a lawyer who wrote a whole thesis, presented it to a university in SA, and then another lawyer showed up, took that thesis, removed the first page, put his name, didn't even change the acknowledgement, but I acknowledge it to my wife. No, the wife
for real
changed it, gave it to the same university.
Kama mimi wife yangu pia.
Got the PhD here. But let's not talk so loudly about that.
You got the PhD?
Yeah, I mean,
what was the name he changed to?
What was the wife's name? You prof.
So there's a way in which, we'll have to deal with the realities of now. So to answer your question, the students will just be students. Anyway,
but then again, there's also an issue of lecturers also using AI.
Become lazy.
They also become... They're using AI tools to grade the students. So what you have in the academic field is two systems of AI colliding. Yeah. And there's no generation of new ideas.
But
true.
Do you know that problem of lecturers using AI? It is there. But I want to. Have you seen those?
Please be objective.
Yeah, I'm being objective. It is there. Yeah? Let me just say that. But have you seen? Have you seen those interviews they do? They're on Citizen TV, NTV, whatever. People are looking for positions in government, huh? Or like the IEBC
chairman.
You saw that one? Yeah. Have you seen people who claim to have PhDs and then they ask questions and they freeze?
Yeah, true. I've seen such guys.
You see, I'm not saying that those are the AI lecturers. But
some people are just shy and nervous.
Come on.
Actually, within 3 months.
You want a job and you're being asked the relevant questions. I mean, it's like asking this guy, are you in a black t-shirt? You say, did you say jeans or t-shirt? I mean, come on. You don't need an education to know that. Of course, you need an education to know that that's a black t-shirt. But you know, you can see. So if you ask these guys these questions and they can't answer, where are we going? So those ones may use AI. I mean, and project it to their students. But students are also clever. Come on.
But how do you finish your undergrad?
They can
then at the same time you do your PhD. Like your undergrad, you took a Seco 2000. You do your undergrad 2000. You do your PhD 2010.
Yeah.
Or you do your PhD 2000 within 2 months. Those I think guys are like, hey, how
I think there was one individual like that.
Like he couldn't explain 3 months PhD.
Wait, scare you guys. AI aside, huh?
Yeah.
There's this thing for I sign up for a master's. Right?
Yeah.
And then now there are these guys who their professional work daily is just writing for you the paper.
Yes, bureaus. Yes.
They're called bureaus?
Yeah.
So does it mean then that the quality of a master's student right now in 2025 as we record this podcast is very low?
Not necessarily. There are lots of people who genuinely get their master's degrees.
Like 10%, right?
And get their master's degrees, their PhD degrees, etc. I don't think it's 10%. You're pushing.
But many guys I know did that stuff.
Yeah. Many guys I mean, I hung out with. No, it's not like that.
Check your friends.
That's it?
Check your friends.
Check your friends. Who are you hanging out with?
There was a place I was employed and this chick used to say, I'm a master student. She used to try to
suppress put you guys down.
As in,
like
the fact that she's a master student
don't have to
is giving credence to what she'll say next. Which is not even related to her, whatever she's.
But you see, if somebody is a master student, even the way they speak, if somebody is a true, genuine master student, you can tell from the way they speak.
But I'm sure there's a knock-on effect on those bureaus.
Yeah,
there is. I think that thing became more rampant when you started having this, like this masters at UON for strategic management, MBA classes.
MBA, yes.
And most of the people in that class are people who work during the day.
Yes.
And they want to get a quick master's degree.
But this guy is also biased against BA guys.
No. He's not talking about.
It's more difficult.
Remember that time when
it's much more difficult. It's much more difficult.
You couldn't say Bachelor of anything.
Skiza. No. It's much more difficult to do that when you're a science student.
Yeah.
Because the questions are very technical. You can't go and bluff during your defense.
In any case, when you're a science student, for example, your hypothesis may have been dash will change into color blue if it is mixed with X or something like that. Yes. So you have to hang around for it to
you
change.
You have to go to a lab.
Blue. Yeah, and you have to. So the science thing pushes you to have. Yeah. So the parameters might even be helped by AI to come to that, but then you have to show it. You follow? So there's a thoroughness. There's a thoroughness in science that might be there, but the arts also. I mean, if you create a social problem, you want to fix. You want to investigate a social problem in Kwaruben, yeah. So if you want to, you've got to go to Mukuru Kwaruben. Sometimes, you can fake statistics and so on. Oh, by the way, did I ever tell you that there was a point at which universities will pay you money if you're a supervisor once your candidate defends, successfully defends. Yeah. So there was a time, I'm just entertaining you. So there was a time when no. Okay, you can say JQuat. There was a time in universities where guys will just collect master students. You'll find one supervisor has 19 students. Okay. Practically, to have 19 students, I can't come even to this podcast. For masters,
it's hectic.
Yes, I wouldn't even teach my undergrads. Do I have time? You know. So let's say 19, and you know the way they'd be calculating. Hii sasa simiti yenye inatoka kwa hii ni at least the first 5 foundation, alafu the second 5, and then so ana calculate in terms of simiti apeleke Luandeti kujenga nyumba fulani. Lots of people finished houses like this. Yeah. And in where other people got degrees in that line. I wouldn't say, you know, I used to hang out with teachers of teachers in high school, and I had them ask each other, ni university gani rahisi kupata masters? And they had an answer. I can't give that answer.
Just
here.
say it.
No, I now unajua
campus the time they were investigated when Nigerians, like 30 Nigerians just PhD. So what it was like, wow, how do they do it? They under scrutiny.
So whether there's AI or whatever,
there's
always cheating methods, you know, have existed before. Yeah.
You guys, but have you answered my question though?
Which one?
That's the answer. The answer is there's always, because I was asking about the bureaus and the quality of a master's student.
The bureaus, by the way, sometimes we're working with, unfortunately, it's corrupt. Yeah. I hate to say this. I mean, so the next time I don't have a job, it's because of the things I say here.
No. We have to maintain your job. We need you to earn that salary.
This is for entertainment purposes.
Yeah.
We normally discuss with Kevo about the quality of students. I think even the other question alluded to that.
Yeah.
Especially now with the proliferation of campus everywhere.
Yes.
You got Luandeti University. You got Luandeti.
Okay, like
Kabianga. Kibabi.
Okay,
so I normally drive past.
Don't talk rough about
So I normally drive past these campus. So my question is, where do the lecturers come from? You guys?
Oh yeah, they do have lecturers.
And are they able, proficient lecturers
to lecture? Outside this podcast, I'll tell you where they can get their lecturers. But in this
on the podcast,
for the purposes of this discussion,
you can see I'm smiling. They do have lecturers.
Okay.
Now, no. But listen, these universities are serious. One of the ways is to have part-time lecturers.
Okay.
The problem with that is that part-time lecturers oftentimes are very exhausted. Sometimes they are paid late. Sometimes they hold on to marks. Sometimes.
They hold on marks, because maybe they haven't got the money yet.
If you've not paid me, I'm not giving you back money, and so on. And so there are interesting problems there. And now, like you were pointing out, it's possible that a lecturer who's also taking shortcuts, who's wanting to part-time in 6 spaces, might use some of this machinery to help him teach. You see the problem? Yeah. And
I get it.
And students buy into that, and it becomes a downward spiral, if you like. So quality goes
so
up.
I think it's also, we need to ask ourselves whether the education system as a whole has been affected.
Yeah.
Because nowadays you even have degree programs for disciplines or stuff that you would need like a 6-month short course to learn. Something like hospitality, or or tourism. Like you have a degree, like you have degrees in procurement. Very weird.
Okay, excuse me. Wait a minute.
Procurement was 4 years.
How can you? What are you possibly learning for 4 years about procurement?
I don't know if you're serious, because you want to go and check them out. Like there's one. You can get a PhD in chain link management. Do you know that?
Chain link. Okay.
Chain link. It's a serious thing. Like to know how a product will move from China and come all the way to a small flat in South Sea. You follow?
That's like logistics.
I'm a project management.
But you see, those are short.
No, but see, there are courses within the main courses.
Now my problem is separation. You see, but even something like law outside Kenya, in some countries, law in itself is not a standalone degree.
You have to have done a degree before
before you do law.
Okay.
Because
let me give you an example to help your story. So there's these days a degree in mass communication. Then you have a degree in journalism.
Yes.
Then you have a degree in medical journalism.
Yes.
Then you have a degree
investigative
journalism. Then you are come on.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're talking
about. That's the point I'm trying to make.
You can have.
I wonder if that degree.
So like they have created so many courses which by themselves should not be like standalone.
Yeah, they don't look standalone. But you know, the problem is all these guys will come to defend themselves and tell you how serious they are. You know. So
alafu again, can our economy sustain some of those disciplines?
Because I work with them.
Then again, can our economy
sustain this sort
some of those? Yeah.
Okay.
A big part of it.
I don't know, but you know, some of that tabia has also come from universities in the West who have been successful. Yeah. But now there's a new wave of you know, anything can be intellectualized, by the way.
True.
Yeah. You can have a degree where you simply spend time studying podcasts to tell differences between this and the other. To know, for example, which direction are podcasts in Nairobi taking? Are podcasts shot in Nairobi the same as podcasts shot in Kampala, for example? You make a comparison.
Graduation degree in what?
No, it could be a whole thesis.
They create a curriculum,
do a 3-year study on that. Yeah, for example, you know. So there's a way in which you can intellectualize anything.
True.
Yeah.
But I think there has to be like a body
or to check that out.
To check whether this thing is worthy of a degree or a diploma or a
Q, Commission for University Education. So it checks that out. Yeah. Okay. And they have professionals. They are serious.
In Kenya.
See, one of the problems, I think I need to address this, by the way. Look, our universities are suffering. So, sometimes we even have quality issues going on. But if you truly go into those universities, you'll find very brilliant minds. In other words, there's almost a contradiction in terms that the universities could be looking like they're going under, but they have very brilliant fellows, and possibly it's because they aren't in leadership positions in those universities. And also other things, for example, how are universities being treated by the state in terms of funding? Have you seen, even now being a let's wachana na nini na universities, being a headmaster of a school is now likely to give you a heart attack. It's one of the dangerous jobs in Kenya.
Why?
Because money is not coming in time. So, and there are all these guys wanasema mimi nilileta mchanga shule, mbona mjanilipa? Mimi nafieka nyasi hapo. Kwa nini? Then their teachers wameandikwa na board. They need to be paid. You know, you don't know how to run these schools. Food has been supplied. Yeah, how are you going to fix that? So the education system is suffering from such issues.
I tell you what I think. I think the intellectuals, because my dad was one of you guys. So
this is water too. I think the audience needs to see.
We believe it's just water.
Yeah, it's water.
Yeah.
This is I'm sleepy and
this is
tired.
water. Yeah.
So you only had one monster. You only had one monster.
No, I had one for me and one for my previous guest.
Yeah.
So Skia,
I don't do monster.
I feel like intellectuals are some sort of mystery group. You see those brilliant guys you're talking about?
Yeah.
They are hidden huko in Campo.
Yeah.
I remember I used to go with my dad to the senior common room.
Yes.
So in the senior common room, there are even zones You guys, senior lecturers had their own table. Kina my bro, the younger ones were hapo kando. Then there are the new guys kabisa near the door.
The green guys.
But now they keep huddling together.
Yeah.
So I feel like there should be a meeting between, you see like what we are doing now, between an intellectual and just a regular guy, where we speak in language everyone understands.
Yeah.
Where you guys are now sharing the things you guys, the brilliant guys, are sharing their knowledge. So it's dispersed to the community. You see like what Joe Rogan does? Like it's so hard to get an intellectual on a podcast, you guys.
Yeah, but you
to speak normally.
Yes, but you know the problem is the questions that the public asks. Let me shambulia the public for once. It may ask very simplistic questions, and some of the questions that need answers, they might not need simplistic answers, because, for example, there are issues to do with history, the way something came to be. Unaona? So now, when you bring me to a podcast and you ask me something in a simplistic fashion and you want me to answer yes or no, nitashindwa. So the next time you invite me to a podcast and you want to answer yes or no,
those quick fire questions.
Yeah, I won't come because you're going to represent what you are going to misrepresent what I want to say, and I will look very foolish to other academics elsewhere.
Oh, okay.
I lose my credibility, my brand goes under. Even my own students wanaanza kusema, hey, ndo ule jamaa yes and no. Amekam.
Like Joe Rogan has a way of talking to these intellectuals.
But that guy
some of his podcasts are 4 hour long.
Exactly. Yeah,
he's a psychologist.
No.
He's a podcaster.
Yeah.
So but he's a fairly intelligent guy.
Yeah, fairly. I like.
But intelligence from hanging out with all these minds.
Yeah. No, but even him, he has inherent.
A guy who's coming must have knowledge of whatever you are. You must have a knowledge of whatever you have to ask this guy.
Yeah, maybe
I can't just come and start asking you questions that I don't even know. So this guy is here. What am I going to ask him?
So maybe it's the media space which is a problem.
Yes.
Do they host any intellectuals on mainstream TV? Like
no.
I'm after professional view.
Mainstream media nowadays is so.
It's mass. They're interested in mass.
Mass plus also. They are so agenda driven. Like there is always something they're trying to.
And then you never know. Joe Rogan might have some guys behind him who these are the kind of questions you ask this guy.
No.
Those guys are planned.
Joe Rogan writes.
How do you know?
He says it.
I can say anything.
But you cannot. Can you cram something and ask questions for 4 hours?
No, Joe Rogan is on. Okay, I don't know about that, but I
see how
like
they do teleprompter. You see a guy like Obama.
No.
I'm just giving an example.
The
no, I'm just giving an example. It's not certainly impossible whatever I'm saying. Like you see Obama there talking like, oh, who made this guy use the teleprompter? You think he clicked on
But me, I'm talking about how we can demystify intellectualism.
You know now, for example, you're very comfortable around intellectual discourse because maybe of where you're coming from. You hang out, like engaging in a conversation with your father, an intellectual. You started to know some of the tricks of these guys. Now, if my father alikuwa tu ni jamaa is a peasant farmer, for example.
Well, peasant bit is not necessary.
I'm not going to say that my father was a peasant farmer, but if my father is a peasant farmer, and then I have a podcast, when will I want to bring an intellectual? You follow? I mean, if my brothers were also they were into other labors that didn't necessarily require intellectual discourse, how am I going to interact with why would I want to be interested in intellectuals? I
don't beg to differ.
No, I'm saying I might not be interested because
same thing. Two brothers, one is drunk, one is sober. Both of them saw their father. How do you answer that question? Because
the Bible.
No, not the Bible. No, get the gist behind it.
Guys who are cast for seeing the nakedness.
No. Okay. I'm telling you, two guys. One is drunk, one is sober. When they asked both of them, say, "We watched our father." The father was drunk. So this guy, why did he stop drinking? Because he didn't want to go the way the father went.
But maybe you're both right.
It can go either way. You can't just cast whatever you say.
But generally, people don't like thinking about complicated things that are beyond them. They'd rather avoid
people being Africans.
Normal.
They're afraid.
Not just the masses.
Even in other countries.
Even in other
countries.
Like by the way, that's a point. People are not wired to think deeply about issues.
How many people study philosophy and such things?
And sometimes you may be interested in intellectual discourses because you went to a school, the education system actually makes you
start your curiosity.
So for example, if you go to some countries, I don't want to name names, they teach philosophy to their teenagers.
Like which country, for example?
You may say
he just said he doesn't want to know.
Okay,
no, but I want to know.
You may say France, for example. Yeah. So they teach intellectual discourse. I want to say philosophy. So basic questions about you just mentioned Descartes. Descartes. René Descartes. I am because
I think therefore
I am. Yeah. See?
As a man thinketh.
I know that's in the Bible.
James Allen. No, there's a book by James Allen.
I know.
Why are you dismissing everything biblical?
No, I mean it's okay. I love the Bible.
What I blame African.
Have you finished your thought though?
Which one?
You were saying something just now.
Oh yeah, I was saying that some people are prepared to engage in intellectual discourses. They are prepared by their education system. They are prepared sometimes because they hung around intellectuals. They are prepared because maybe in their formative years they were readers of books. They've been readers of books all their life. So they allow for peer. Oh, there's something else, by the way. Intellectuals have a way of intimidating other people.
Yeah.
Have you been somewhere where intellectuals are whatever, and then you show up, and then you say something, hey, now anakwambia boss, si ukae kwa ile meza. Ile ndio meza yenu.
Certain community like doing that. Certain community.
Sometimes I call this guy Mr. Then in my head I remember, this guy's an intellectual. Call him Doc. So I'm like, God, sorry. So I actually feel guilty for
but
not supposed to.
Like one of my bros really is very sensitive about being called doctor.
I
feel like there should be a demystification of you guys.
These titles.
And then the way you present your stuff should also be, maybe you guys should rethink how to interact with the intellectual thing that you know.
It should be less complicated.
Yeah. Like remember, you hate the Bible, but okay, I don't know if you hate the Bible.
I do.
But
I do. I love it.
Yeah.
It's got very nice stories.
If you look at how Jesus used to teach,
yes,
and you compare it with Paul. So Jesus, the Son of God,
yes,
is just saying there was a man who came from this kingdom. Yeah. All right.
Yes.
This Paul guy, you can't even understand what the heck he's saying.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's just how you guys present,
how you phrase things.
You're talking about you yourself. You can't understand what Paul says.
The average Joe.
I doubt it.
He has a point because, by the way, you have a point in the sense that, do you know that Paul, to some extent,
Paul the Apostle,
Paul the Apostle, inspired Martin Luther, the guy who banged 99 complaints on a church door.
Yes.
Yeah.
The reformist.
Martin Luther, the original.
Yeah. There's a line that Paul has written in the Bible. See, I know the Bible. It is not it is by faith and not by works.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes.
Yeah. And this Martin Luther uses this argument to talk about penance. Do you know penance?
Yes.
Like
it's common in the culture.
Yeah, like mtu wenu akikufa mnachanga pesa ili tendewe mema huko juu, blah blah. Yeah. And so this guy said, no, listen, it is not by works, it's by faith. So whether you pay money or what, did this person have faith in the first place? And now it became a huge intellectual engagement. So if you look at the realms of work that Martin Luther went under to actually play with that one phrase. So you're correct about Paul being this sophisticated intellectual who's going to engage people. But now there's a way in which, like I was saying, intellectuals can intimidate so that you don't end up having discourses that are helpful. However, let me now tear them nice and easy. There's some arguments that cannot be given in simple terms.
They're just complicated, full stop.
So that now, if we reduce them to simple lines, they lose their how do I say? Yeah,
but do you think there's also this issue of people wanting to protect their craft?
Yeah.
For example, lawyers will throw in a lot of
those of
Latin terms.
Chekiana, the locus standi,
the Amiras Curiae, to explain
pro bono
fairly simple concepts, which everyone can understand. But they try to mystify it so that to the general public they look like they're doing.
Maybe also using the Latin shortens a lot of unnecessary talk. You know, some Latin words had a lot of sentence. English, like 200 words, they make into one word. So you have to just use it to quicken the speech.
So finish your thought.
No. I was just saying that's it. Okay. I mean that some arguments might be so complicated that.
However.
When intellectuals show up, then you might think, kwani huyu jamaa amekuja kutu intimidate. No, maybe he's arguing something about something very sophisticated.
Bless you.
Do you think it's not even about sophistication? It's about probably their nature. They're so dwell in that nature, like a boxer. Every time you're with a boxer, he talks about you need to train, balance that.
And then you're happier with other boxers.
And so you're happy with other boxers because you're in the same level of,
Yeah,
so he doesn't even know what he's doing sometimes. Like, I spoke to this guy the way because you're that innate. It just become your nature, second to nature to.
Like you're in a bubble.
You're in a bubble. But even in boxing, I mean, you will find that it's easier to talk to your fellow boxers.
Yeah, true.
Because some of the things you need, some of the energy so you hang out with your fellow boxer. It's easier than hanging out with someone who's not interested in boxing.
The guy who's wondering why is doing that.
Yeah. Some people ask you, why are you boxing? Why boxing? Why not table tennis? Yeah.
We've been here for an hour. Kuna nyama inatungojea.
Okay.
Just before you wind up, how come universities in the West are so woke?
Man, I don't want to go into that argument
Trump
because of this guy.
Why?
Which guy? He's not being seen on screen, and also to some extent this guy.
Okay.
Yeah, because these are friends of the anti-woke movement.
So we leave the
normal people.
We'll
leave the convo for another day.
I mean, they're going to say things which are going to be annoying.
Okay. Even this guy is woke.
Even you are woke. Don't even lie.
No. I mean, yes, but then. These guys are anti-woke.
Okay.
No, being truthful doesn't mean you are a negative guy.
For example, I know this guy wants to say universities have become so extremely left that they need to be disciplined. I'm sure he's very happy the way it's going for Harvard, for example.
Or with this foreigner student thing.
Yeah. You must be very happy.
I'm over the moon.
See?
I mean, so maybe we can have the con when they are not here.
I don't know. I mean,
we'll just keep it and
I think they've been consumed by very dangerous and
cultured behavior.
Ideologies. Those are behaviors.
You that's funny.
These are ideologies ambazo that cannot anyone with opposing views. They cannot tolerate.
See, I don't want to argue. This is where I become intellectual. Like,
so you're a he or a him or a her or a they. What are you? They? Should I call you they?
So,
him?
No. See now where it's going.
It's spiraling.
Yeah.
So what's your then let's wind up with something else. What's your reading schedule like in an average week?
Oh no, see, I have to prepare for class, so I have to read for that.
Do you have to read for outside the class preparation?
Yeah, I have a paper to write, so I have to read some books around it.
Do you read for leisure?
Oh yeah, I do. I do daily. Oh, by the way, I am in the performing arts, the literary fields, those things. So basically, I consume a lot of literature. So yeah.
Whether your play won an award, right? Do you want to talk about that a little?
When was this?
I mean, I'm not small. Anyway, no.
you weigh like 100 and something kgs.
Your audience might feel intimidated. No, I don't do. It's not about weight.
So
I wrote a play. It was called, oh gosh, They That Have Missing Marks Shall Not Graduate. It's a long title, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah,
it was a very apt name because that's true.
So I was actually interested in students and their plight in terms of students and their plight. No, yeah, well, maybe. I mean, for example, universities the way they are. So what happens is that if a student doesn't have marks, they can't graduate. Grades for their courses, they can't graduate. And sometimes the reason they don't have grades is because a part-timer has delayed. You follow? Part-time lecturer has delayed in giving marks. Sometimes the system itself, is not working. Maybe someone's name was not in the system, etc. But so I created a story around a man who comes from Kembembe. You know Kembembe?
You've told me about it.
It's a place in Kirinyaga.
Yeah, it's in a place in Kirinyaga. And the story was, supposing there's such a man and he has a daughter who's going to school in a city university, and the daughter is being told she won't graduate. And she won't graduate because she's missing 1 mark from whatever. So what can happen to this guy? This guy, what does he do? If you know Kembembe and its economy, it's an agricultural space. So it's agrarian. This guy works hard on the land, and he has donkeys, he has, and he's tried, he even has a degree in veterinary science from Nairobi University.
Kabete ngombe.
Yeah, Kabete ngombe. Oh, that's the way you call it. Yeah. And so, I mean, this guy wonders how can my daughter not have marks? So he drives all the way to campus and goes into the HOD's office of the department where the girl is, and asks the HOD what's going on. And the HOD thinks, Sasa, do I have time to talk to this guy? But then before kufumba na kufumbua, jamaa amejifunga na machains kwa dirisha, kwa desk and everything.
Anatoka max.
Anasema mpaka mnisolve shida ya huyu mtu wewe ndio nitatoka hapa. etc. So that's basically the story.
That's the premise.
Yeah.
No,
and
that's
then it goes on. Yeah. But I have a new play. It's going on in Eldoret on June 14th.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's called... Hey, nimesahau title.
You got his marks finally.
No. Yeah, Man Needs Therapy.
Oh, that's the name of the play.
Will you be showing it in Nairobi?
Yeah, I think we'll bring it to Nairobi.
Most of the time you start in Eldoret, then come to Nairobi.
Yeah. I have a group of guys in Eldoret. One guy is called Cosmas B. He makes films there.
You guys, shout out to Cosmas
B,
man.
Shout out to Cosmas B. And another guy called Octavius Onyango. He's a director of plays.
You guys, shout out to Octavius Onyango, you guys.
Yeah. And so
that's
another guy.
Yeah, there's another guy called
I think majina zao zitakuja juu podcast ikiisha.
There's a brilliant actor called Oyatsi.
All right.
Yeah.
Oyatsi.
You guys, Oyatsi, bruh.
Yeah, and so on. I think we can stop.
No, brother Oyatsi.
I mean, otherwise everyone will be like...
How could you mention?
Yeah.
So they're the ones who run the... so they wait, you write, and then you send them over, then they make it out into
But here in Nairobi, we also work with other groups.
Okay.
Like Prevails.
But LD ndio ulianzia. That's where
yeah,
it's
homegrown. The reason why LD is because I used to teach at Moi University.
Oh, okay. How long did your play run in Nairobi?
Which one?
The
it went on for... It did about 8 shows, I think.
Yeah, congrats.
All sold out.
It started with
they were sold out, by the way. I was impressed.
Yeah, man. It started with the Kumbi Mbogo.
Yeah.
And then it moved to Alliance.
It went to Alliance, yes.
And it was sold out.
Yeah, it was sold out.
You film these plays of yours? Are they in film if you want to?
That's a problem. I'm a purist. We are live theatre.
Oh. Yeah. So you've never considered silver screen?
You guys are
well, I mean, I don't know. I don't care about you. If you don't come, shauri yako. It's like you.
Arrogance.
No, yeah, I know.
So that
there you go.
I love
unless there's a rerun, it's gone forever.
Yeah, but no, well, I mean, yes, we can record it.
You record for your own purposes.
No, if you want to do it in future, people will have to do it. It's a play. It's a live theater thing.
But even in case of state, Rock does the live thing, and then Rock. Remember the Rock?
Rock, the guy.
If you smell
Chris Rock.
Not Chris Rock. The Rock guy used to, the black guy Rock. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but he's into live theater.
Yes, what was you could see it on the one platform.
Okay.
All is best.
If you smell.
Oh, but you guys who do stand up, stand up is live, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, But you like recording stuff. I've watched a lot of stand-up that, yeah.
But you don't post until it's ready.
Or until it's really yeah, exactly. But you were sort of committed to the liveness. You like the audience that comes there and suffers.
You like that raw.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference between AI and human.
Lots of jokes that you make offhand, spontaneous, whatever. I mean, they work for you. For example, umeingia umechapwa na light, make joke about the light. Jamaa wa lights amefix kidogo.
Mike imekataa kufunguka.
You can still record that.
You can still,
but I think it's more even the way it
more
looks
apt
on TV for say a crowd work show. So remember I did a crowd work show. It's not. It didn't translate.
People who watch on TV will not relate as much.
Let me tell you a story about a guy called Hugh Masekela. You remember the guy who used to play the trumpet from South Africa, and he sang that song about I want to see Nelson Mandela walking with Winnie Mandela. In the streets.
Little did he know Winnie Mandela was being...
shut up. Anyway, so now you see the people
but it is
stop
true.
development from taking place.
This is true, the football coach.
So let's go on. Now, when this guy went to perform, he has a very nice song about Stimela. You know Stimela?
Yeah, I know Stimela.
Like the train that
yes.
And he talks about this train, how it transported people from Zambia, Zimbabwe, Malawi, and so on
to work in the farms.
Not in the farms, in the mines.
In the mines, sorry.
Of Johannesburg and so on. So he has this song, and everybody's waiting for it. Then he comes on stage, and then it looks like the lighting guy fixes the light in such a way that I think it shines on his trumpet. He can't, and so on. And so, before he performs, he says, by the way, put the light down. Then the guy is not paying attention. He says, I will not perform until you put the lights down. You know, so the audience is consumed in another drama. It is so beautifully executed.
Drama within drama.
Wow, here is a guy who is so confident. He can tell off these technicians, you know, like the guy who fixes your the
sound,
mic and so on. You can have a discourse where the audience is watching. You've got to have a certain kind of charisma, practice.
But was it scripted? It was a genuine reaction.
It was a genuine reaction.
Oh, okay.
But it became such a dramatic thing, you know, beautiful stuff. So I'm saying, now, if that is that's the part of performance which, even if you record, it never gets the
you can't capture.
It never. That's why I'm a live theater person.
Oh, okay. Are you the one who wrote
Call it arrogance?
How to Build a House in Kitengela?
Yeah, How to Build a House in
You wrote that too?
Yes.
Tell us a snippet about that. What was that about?
Well, it was now this was an industrial issue. An industrial issue. So there are guys who've won money to do a film, and the amount of money they've won is about 42 million. So these guys who've won this money, they've won it from a government corporation that is in charge of films in Kenya and so on. So once they win it, they decide, by the way, they are a couple. They have a company, but they are a couple. But in order to win this, they had used a guy who's a superstar, who works sometimes in Nigeria, sometimes in South Africa, sometimes in Greece, but he's a Kenyan. So they've said, this guy is part of our project and so on. So they won the money. And so once they won the money, they sat down as a family, these two guys. They're coming from divorced situations. If you put their children together, they have like 9 kids. So they sit down and ask themselves, by the way, hii Kenya tumeishi, lakini hatujawai jijengea nyumba. Now we have 42 million to make a film, yes. But then, kama wengine wanajenga nyumba, je sisi mbona tusijenge? So they actually take hive off about 17 million
to build a house
to buy a house in Kitengela.
What kind of house would that be, Manu, given the current
3 bedroom?
Shit, it's not a big house like this. I projected that it's a it's a mansion and so on.
In which part? In which part of Kitengela? In which part of Kitengela?
Where I live.
Where the hyenas stay?
Oh, there are animals. Oh gosh, there are.
Yeah, there are, but not as many as when I moved there.
So can you leave your door open?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the story was now the guy they used as the star in their posters shows up. Says, okay, now the shooting period of the movie is now, isn't it? So I've shown up. So where's my cut? Because he had been promised that he'd get certain. Now they start telling him stories. So the whole play is that.
Kumbe amejenga nyumba Kitengela.
Yeah. Sasa nashanga, no, si tulikuwa tumeagree.
So that play is also not recorded.
Yeah. Yeah.
Script somewhere.
That play is also lost to history.
But again, it could come back to Nairobi sooner than later.
Nice.
The good thing is, we will always bring this.
And do you just write plays? Or have you ever considered doing scripts for movies?
I have done scripts for film, but they were, short scripts.
Short movies.
Yeah, short
Yeah.
movies.
Short
How long does it take you to write a play?
Oh,
We
gosh,
just focus on it.
It depends on inspiration, for example,
Yeah.
and many other factors.
And what are your influences? Like,
I mean, okay, first where I work, school, university, also some of the topics that I might be interested in.
and are there like authors, playwrights who've inspired you?
Yeah, like Mbogo, for example.
Francis Mbogo.
Yeah.
Major
too
Mwangi.
much.
Major Mwangi is my favorite.
Yeah, but that's a novelist. So I'm talking in terms of plays. Major Mwangi is very good.
Yeah.
Cockroach Dance. I mean, I consider that novel very nice. For example.
My Dear Botro.
Yeah. My Dear Bottles, that's Mr. Mailu, David Mailu.
Oh,
The
David
little
Mailu.
white man.
Dr. David Mailu.
No, Mwangi is down River Road.
Yeah, going down River Road.
Going down River Road,
yes. So,
Well, Mazi, these people need to go and eat. Fred,
thank
Prof, thanks for coming. Doctor
thank
Prof.
you very much.
Thanks for coming through. And even you guys have made this convo very nice.
I'm so happy that
so you hook me up with more people to vibe.
So,
I'm a lecturer. But you said sour in the last podcast.
yeah.
Check this guy out.
But Manu, you have to follow up.
Look how long I've taken get this guy back.
Yeah.
No, well, I mean, things happen. People move.
Do you have anyone in mind who you can
I don't know.
interest to come through?
You'd have to speak to them. First of all, they are academic.
First you speak to them.
First, they are academic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Someone who you can...
Kwanza ma academics.
How do you approach it, Kiev?
Yeah, true.
Someone who can bounce ideas off and they'll...
Yeah. Bila kukua official.
I think you can be official but interesting also.
Yeah.
But I guess it's also a skill on my part that I need to develop.
So, for example, those guys might be interested in... Yeah.
Yeah.
So they might be interested in what topics do you want us to discuss.
Yeah, I not even knew you're very keen on the topic.
And then also they'll be interested in how much do you know about this topic? Because I don't want to discuss with you and
you don't have any depth.
you're taking me back. I mean, we've already gone past etc.
Nani is his friend? Smita is his friend.
Yeah, maybe Smith would be a good start because I know him through my... Okay, I know of him through my dad. He was my dad's friend.
Yeah.
Smith is a doc also.
Smitten.
He has a PhD.
Yeah.
He's a journalist.
He has a PhD.
Journalist. Does he have a PhD?
No, but he's an author. I mean,
He's an author.
books mob.
His script was in the bus. Alafika lost. That's why he's not a PhD.
He's not a what?
Nani?
He hasn't got it, man.
So
So you remember your story about the scripts getting lost in the bus? That's why he's not a PhD.
Yeah.
You guys was really...
Yeah. Big schools, not once.
Yeah. Even Mwaf was in Starch.
Oh, Mwaf.
Na kama dread ndio za wasewa starch.
Check him talk up, please get dreads.
Unajua
Ni Griffin aliwa instruct.
Watu unisumbua wananiambia huko nje ati do you do a podcast? Alafu na wauliza
Wanamfananisha na Mwaf.
so before nijue ni Mwaf. Yeah, kuna msee mwingine hata aliniambia hey, please give me your number. I need to come in as a sijui what
For real.
Shanga nikampea number because he bought me one beer. Nikafikiri nikunywa beer ya Mwaf.
Mwaf look at it. But then Mwaf should have you on his pod, eh? He's an interest. He has an interesting way of bringing out things.
Yeah, but they are politics dangerous.
Yeah, atakuuliza maswali zingine interesting, man.
This guy doesn't like being put on the spot.
No, but there's a way he maneuvers himself. I'm sure
He wiggles out.
Yeah, but follow Fred. Fred is very active on Facebook.
Fred Mbogo.
Mbogo on Facebook, right? Facebook is your main way of communicating with the locals.
Because you can't have time for everything. Like to be on
Twitter,
what are all those ones?
Instagram,
X.
Twitter, X.
So you get TikTok.
You on Facebook.
Sasa
You must be on
una
Facebook.
No, you've got to have a nice ass for TikTok.
Check this guy on TikTok. Check.
And gender helps. Sasa now TikTok.
and him, he doesn't like short format things, as he's just
Yeah,
said.
your posts on Facebook are pretty long.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
TikTok restricts you to.
No,
I mean-
TikTok is not restricted.
but
short,
it's
1 minute.
it appeals to people with a short attention span.
Yeah.
Mass. The mass.
Yeah, Mazi. All right, cheers, man. Thanks for coming through once again.
Yeah.
Bruno, Mazi. Cheers, bro.
Cheers.
Kevo, you guy. If you want to see Fred Mbogo again, please write up kwa comments kama mna enjoy hizi maconvo. Na pia atatuhook pia na wase.
Mike imekuwa off.
Pana icon. Is it red?
Nina enjoy it too. I mean, at the end,
Mazi, that
it
can
is
be sad. You have recorded a whole podcast without the video.
Okay.
Some other guy.
Yeah. Wow.
You guys have video recording there?
Yes, it is.
All right. So, cheers. See you on the next one. Bye.